Ric Flair's last match, and I'll ask you for your opinions in a second, but the general consensus is that the people watching at home on pay-per-view or however generally disliked it as it was incredibly depressing, but people in the audience were quite positive about it because there was a great atmosphere in the arena. So it's amazing how the disparity between the two experiences for the exact same match of just how you consumed it basically.
Well, the people watching it live, they were invigorated by the other fans. If you hear a bunch of people cheering, well, if you were depressed by it, you'd kind of put it aside because these other people were so energetic about it. But at home, if you're watching it, you're going, and I don't know what people expected out of Ric Flair in this final match. I don't think any of them expected Ric Flair in 1985 walking out in Greensboro Coliseum with 20,000 people sitting there. I don't think anybody expected Ric Flair even in his early WWF days, because those days were way gone. See, I don't know what they expected. To me, in watching the match, I think that Flair tried to do too much of it on his own. And he looked, see, I was just hearing things about it. That, oh, it was great, it was this, it was that, and the other. But it wasn't great. And even before it happened, I had reservations about it. First of all, it's about his health. What if he has a heart attack? That would really be Ric Flair's last match. And that'd be a downer, not only for the family and Rick himself, but to the fans who wanted to wish him farewell in his retirement. But even watching him coming down the ramp, he looked so fragile. I mean, he looked delicate. Now I'm thinking, man, now I'm fearing for what's going to happen in the ring. And what I'm fearing is he may not die or he may not get killed, but he could get hurt, not able to get up. And basically the match that I saw, I think Rick tried to take control of it. And I understand that because he's taken control of all his other matches he's ever had. See, he's trying to deny that he's 73 years old. And very few wrestlers have wrestled that long, except there is one guy in Alabama who's done it. You know what I'm talking about? You probably never heard of Mike Jackson.
Yeah, he was a jobber, wasn't he, in the NWA in the late 80s, I think.
Yeah, probably. But he still wrestles and he still moves great. He weighs about 170 pounds. He's not a big guy. He never was a big guy. Him being 73, I don't know how he moves that way, but he does. But anyway, back to Rick. And there were some spots in there or some areas where I'm thinking, this is because people do not want to remember Flair seeing him like that, if it's only for 5 seconds. But see, I think they think that wrestling can create miracles. And I think if that had been laid out differently, I think it'd be a lot better. But in looking at it, who do you think laid that match out?
Ooh, I would have said Rick probably laid that
out. Absolutely. Rick laid it out. And Jeff Jarrett said, okay, we'll do that. And the other kid said, okay, fine. And what's the other guy's name? What's his name?
There's Andrade and Jay Lethal.
Andrade. I want to say Adobe Andrade. and they let him lay it out because it was his match. But I think he wanted, and that's why I say it's a vanity project. He wanted to go out there and prove what he could do, but I don't even think he even knew what he could do. But as we found out, not much. So I wish him luck. Now, the next question is, when's his next last match going to pop up?
Yeah, there must be a commission out there that would stop him after that performance, surely.
The commissions aren't in effect anymore.
Well, I suppose it depends on the state, doesn't it? But I suppose mostly,
it does. It does depend on the state, but the state, they're tax hungry too. You know, if he sells out, they get a bunch of tax money. But the next person that comes up, maybe with some money, and say, "Here, I guarantee you this," he's going to take it. Mm-hmm. I hope not, because you got to remember, the Eagles announced their final tour in 2002, and they played a concert in London last week. So, but after a while, people caught on to that, and they said, we don't care. We'll go to it anyway. But with Flair, I don't know how long he can go with this, but I'm saying I think there will be at least one more, maybe two.
With funny you mentioned the Eagles. I saw them in 2019. Even the lack of Glenn Fry didn't stop him from touring again. They just got his son drafted in instead. In fact, I'm going to mention more on the match. In fact, a few notes. Mike Chioda was the referee. Nice to see him. I've interviewed him. He was a very nice guy. Doug Dillinger was doing security once again. Tony Schiavone and David Crockett were on commentary. And as for my opinion, for what it's worth, it started badly the second he came out because he looked like a very unsteady old man. And you know, a few months earlier, they were doing these training videos, and he looked closer to when he did the Shawn Michaels retirement match then, just a few months ago, than he did for his last match. He just seemed like a completely different person. I know he's complained about. I wrote it down. It's not. There we go. Plantar fasciitis. It's a issue, pain in the heel, and it went from him really struggling to do anything, including throw. I think he did a headlock takedown that he sort of got away with, some weak offense, and he went from an old man wrestling to it honestly turned into Weekend at Bernie's towards the end.
That was so horrible. I can't believe you said that.
But he really was.
I'm gonna adopt it now. Weekend at Bernie's.
But he was. They were scraping him off the canvas just to do anything. It's like when he tagged out, he wasn't moving practically.
Which is another statement of mine, a vanity project. I think he was so worried that he was going to go out there and look bad. It blew him up emotionally because that's why he was out of breath. That's why he blew up, and you could see him breathing. That's why a lot of people thought he was going to die, because he was in the middle of a sale job, breathing so hard, it didn't look like he could move. And that's where your heels come in. You know, that's where Jeff Jarrett came in, could cover for that a little bit. You're not going to cover for it 100%, but I think he was blown up with nerves. I think nerves is probably the best way to describe it, other than emotional. And he wanted to be remembered as this is his final match, or he could pretend his final match as somebody comes up with some more money. And I actually felt sorry for him. I really did. If somebody said, "Dutch, will you have another match?" And I would say, not no, but hell no. But till they said, "Well, what about 50 grand?" Oh, well, all of a sudden, I feel more up to it. And that's what I think is going to happen to Rick. Because a vanity project, but if he has another one offered, will he take it? What do you say? He will?
Probably. I mean, do you know what? I actually genuinely think if he does another one, somehow it'll end up being better than this one. But I'll make a couple more notes and then I will move, and then I'll throw it back to you, or we can move on. But he apparently mouthed to Andrade or whoever that he blacked out at one point. He doesn't remember half the match because he just blacked out and passed out. And two, he couldn't even get the knucks on his hand. That was the finish of these brass knuckles. He couldn't even get them on his hand briefly because he couldn't put them on his hands because they were trembling so much. But then afterwards he gets up eventually, and then later that night he goes out and parties with Kid Rock. So apparently he's okay, and I'm glad he's okay.
Well, I guess he's okay partying because he's practiced for that. But he shouldn't even be doing that. Because the doctor told him, don't drink, don't do this, don't do that, and he's out doing it. So one thought I had about Flair was that if he had actually died in the ring, I don't think he would have been disappointed. I mean, of course, you know, you die and you'd never have a chance to know that. But his going away final retirement match, and then he dies, I think that's the way he wants to go. He wants to go away in what he loved the most, and that was pro wrestling. Me, I'm not that dedicated, to tell you the truth. But and for years and years and years, he was the measuring stick about how guys were. But if you watch Flair, he does the same moves over and over and over and over again. You could almost predict what he's going to do because he hasn't changed that routine in 20 years. But what Flair was good at doing in his younger days, it was just making people, want to see him get his butt kicked, which is an art. And he had that art down. And he was good. He drew a lot of money. So